Welcome to Follow Your Joy podcast, where intuition is the doorway to your wisdom, your genius, and your joy. I'm your host, Marla Diane, and I've been transforming creative entrepreneurs' lives for over 26 years. Through two businesses as a success coach and a business strategist, and prior to that, an entertainment publicist and a talent manager for 2 decades. It's time to make joy your inner GPS for life and business decisions rather than lean on your logic and reason first. You'll not only be following what is most authentic to you and for you, but you will live the beautiful life that's meant just for you. You'll come to learn that following your joy is a life and a business strategy. Listen in for inspiring entrepreneurial stories and solocasts that illuminate how by trusting your intuition, you'll create a fulfilling result. Want to learn how to access, trust, or up-level your intuition? Join me in the conversation to find out how. Hello, my creative friends. It is time for another solocast to bring you up to date. How are you? Happy November 2023. Yeah. So in my previous episode, I shared how I chose to place the life design coaching in the forefront, with business coaching as the steady, ongoing second offering. Because today's episode is called How Good Will You Allow Your Life to Get? Embrace your next chapter. So to bring this close to home, on October 13th, Friday night, I had enough of feeling out of sync with my natural happy self due to all the changes since 2020, not only in the coaching industry and the business world at large, but how to adjust. Right? How to get your footing. And I had some very personal losses that included my father passing away in February 2021. My wonderful soul dog passed away after 17 amazing years in May 2022. And my 32-year-old son chose to pull away in early 2022 from our close relationship due to his own existential crisis, and has kept his distance since, regardless of my attempts to connect. And my mother passed away a few weeks ago, September 30th, at 87, from a long battle with cancer. So to say the least, I have been through some major foundational losses in the last few years, and that'll shake anyone up, right? So that night, October 13th, I took my sweet dog, Ruby. By the way, I adopted her back in November after Mojo passed away, 5 months after he passed away. So anyway, I took Ruby and I for a walk in Hermosa Beach. It's just a short drive here from Malaga Cove. And in that walk with the night sky and the warm evening, just soothing us, was just wonderful. I came to realize that the impact that these changes had on me, given the loss of my mother being the last straw. I realized how disconnected I was from myself, people, vitality. I was in survival mode, and I wanted vitality mode. I dealt with all this with dignity and positivity, while really behind closed doors, I was feeling sad and numb and confused. A light at the end of the tunnel began to happen when my mother came to me 2 days after her passing with a simple but profound, kind of an intuitive whisper, a message. And it said really clearly, Celebrate my life. Please don't mourn me. And what did that do for me? It became a huge liberation and permission to go live my life the way I once knew, with vigor. Excuse me. Hold on a moment. With vigor and joy in that moment and going forward as I celebrated her life. Have you lost a parent? How about both of them? It is a weird feeling not having their presence anymore. It's just like a whole different life. So, Mom, this one's for you. Thanks for the inspiration. And circling back to Friday, October 13th, when I had the epiphany to reconnect with people in person and stop using the TV at night to buffer my sadness. Instead, go live my life like I know how. So the next day, on Saturday, the 14th, I woke up very enthusiastic to clean up my home, rearrange my furniture, clean up the clutter, feel the new environment, and I made a commitment to embrace my next chapter. I ran around the house that morning, excited as I moved my bedroom furniture around. As I mentioned here, I rearranged my kitchen counters, and I cleaned up my office, right? So by 3:30, I felt kind of like a new woman, right? And I also committed to initiate much more collaboration with women in business in my South Bay area to grow our businesses. I want an infusion of creative, high-achieving, loving women as collaborators and supporters. How about you? Wow, I mean, truthfully, 2020 to 2023 was so difficult on so many levels. All right, so that's my life in the last 3 years and why life design and next chapter is so crucial. That's where the slight change in my coaching topics and adding the Tuscany wine tours collaboration with my dear friend Luca in Italy happened. Right? And coming soon, a dream come true, I'll be offering you an opportunity. This is all part of the next chapter. Be offering you an opportunity to spend 6 days and 5 nights in a Tuscan villa in stunning Tuscany, Italy, with me and my friend Rico Mandel, where we're curating 6 life-changing days. Registration will be available very soon, so keep watch. But how about your life? How good will you allow your life to get? Let me pose the real question. Are you done with pretending you're okay and satisfied? Are you ready to make what you dream about actually happen? What do you want in life? That's a question we often don't ask ourselves on a consistent basis, yet we can feel restless and vague and undefined. We might look at our situation and feel stuck, overwhelmed, and probably unfulfilled. And the trail to our future might appear hazy or blocked by an insurmountable obstacle. Maybe you're waiting for the perfect moment, and that persistent voice of what I call ego whispers, you don't need it. You've tried it before and it didn't work. We've all been there. And if you've been feeling this way lately, I urge you to step out of your comfort zone, break free from your routine, and immerse yourself in a new environment. One of the main reasons for feeling stuck is you're not evolving. We're born to be creatives. We're creative beings. And that requires us to evolve. Our purpose truly is to evolve in our lifetime. And there's no perfect time or situation for that. So I'm encouraging you today to say yes to your dreams, Pursue your burning desires so that you no longer put them on the back burner. It's time to prioritize your dreams and eliminate all excuses. You know, in her book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, Nurse Bronnie Ware identified the most common regret of people facing the end of their life. And this is what they said. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. It's pretty profound, right? Are you living a life true to yourself, your dreams, your goals? Or are you following a path chosen for you by the expectations and demands of others? How's your boundaries around that? You know, perhaps you are not where you want to be physically, emotionally, financially, or spiritually. And that's impacted your deepest relationships, especially with yourself. Change in all of us starts when we change our minds. To make any kind of change within ourselves, we must first believe we can change, and then believe the change will be worth it. So the key word in how good will you allow your life to get is allow. Allow. What could be preventing you from living the life that you can marvel at? I'm finding, being on the front lines with high achievers over the last 3 years, coming out of the pandemic, especially this year, people are trying to find their footing, that new normal, and make the changes, just like what I shared in my own life. What will keep your cup full with joy and adventure and vitality? Is the answer maybe becoming a beginner again? In fact, here's a great example of this. In Steve Jobs, his famous Stanford commencement speech, he echoes the same sentiment. The gift and the big challenge of being fired from his own company, Apple, gave him the freedom, he says, to begin again. Right? To be in his creativity rather than the managing of people and the company. And in fact, it was in that creative space of beginning again that he created Pixar, the world's most successful animation company that may not have ever been created had his firing never happened. There's always a gift in the challenge, and we must be patient to find it and listen close enough to the calling. He did. How about you? So the message here is when we have an imbalance of too much doing and a level of resistance by not allowing, remember the key word in that title is allow. So again, too much doing and a level of resistance by not allowing the receiving of abundance in love, money, joy, compliments, health, ideas, creativity. We end up creating a prosperity block. The key to having a thriving life is mastering the receiving as much as you habitually give and do. We must have the energy of circulation flowing, or we have a blockage that comes in form of lack or struggle. So I invite you to look at, your daily habits at work and in your personal life. How out of balance are you with being open to receiving? Look, I need to monitor this all the time. As much work as I have done on my inner work, I still need to stay on top of being open to the receiving instead of thinking I got to do in order to make something happen, because that's a consciousness and it's a spiritual principle as much as it's a tangible, practical principle, right? Is the receiving. It's very active, right? So today I'm encouraging you to up-level the principle of receiving, right? The spiritual principle of receiving, because here's the real profound reason. It's in the receiving mode where we manifest our desires quicker, sooner, and even better than what we imagined, rather than be in the hustle mode thinking the more you work, the better chance you have at achieving your desired result. Receiving is very much a feminine art. So when you break the old patterns of doing all the time, which comes from, again, your habitual thinking that it takes your own doing to make things happen. And instead, I aspire for you to trust being in the receiving, the allowing, the faith mode, so that you experience miracles and changes like these. 11th hour miracles happen. Something that was a no or a roadblock magically turns around to a yes and a flow. A financial worry turns into financial relaxation because money begins to flow again with consistency. So before you allow any more time to slip away, being in that habitual doing mode without the receiving mode, balancing the circulation. I call that law of circulation, the giving and the receiving, the doing and the receiving of life. Let's explore how to get your next chapter started. Or maybe it's a 2 millimeter profound shift. As we work behind the scenes to put together the registration page for 6 wanderlust women craving a traditional Tuscan villa experience, I want to give you a sneak peek at the theme and some of the juicy details. I've named this 6-day, 5-night retreat, Sonia Toscano, Women's Retreat, Creative Renewal in the Heart of Tuscany. And it's hosted by Patrizia, the owner of Villa Vetrachina. Here's why I created this retreat, besides it being my ultimate way of working in my joy, in my genius zone, and it's been a dream, right, come true for me. It's been on my bucket list. All right, so here's the theme. One of the leading neglects that my high-achieving spiritual creative women entrepreneur clients talk about the most is the lack of creativity in their work and personally, because they're so immersed in the hustle of scheduling, working long hours, being overly structured, checking off to-do lists, and living in their logical, practical mind most of the time. That leads to consistent burnout. This is not a recipe for enjoying your life, and especially living from your powerful, life-affirming feminine arts. So when we think about this, is that when we operate too often and too long in our masculine logical mode, our hearts, our intuition, and our creativity shut down. We become numb. We operate out of detached compassion from ourselves and others while focused in the make it happen default mode, right? It's that default mode, day in to day out. And we're challenged accessing our creativity. It happens to me on and off. And to me, that's the sign. That's the hello. Get out of the hustle mode, get out of your head and get into, Marla, get into your feminine, right, energy. So yes, is that we're challenged to access our creativity. We crave that feeling of inspiration and liberation, imagination, and something new more often. So Sonia Toscano Retreat is designed to help you reconnect, revitalize, and renew your creative heart. Because when we're in our creativity more often, we are in our feminine energy of expansion and imagination, emotion, joy, intuition, inspiration, play, adventure, desire, delight, and sensuality. These are the beautiful feminine arts that we women are born with. Make no mistake thinking that these won't help you create, earn, and manifest higher income and revenues for your business. In fact, these are the traits, right? And the leading way to increase your revenues, followed by the support of the masculine effort of strategy and system and logic and practicality and planning and responsibility and implementation. You seeing the balance here, the blend, right? I'm an advocate and mentor to help women create a masterful blend of living and working in the masculine and feminine to stop the burnout and live more fluently. So, look, we need both of these energies to run a successful business, but there is an art to blending both, right? Masculine, feminine, and these are principles, these are not gender, right? So that we don't burn out and neglect our innate gifts, especially our creativity. So this approach has a lot to do, right? The feminine. This approach has a lot to do with strengthening your boundaries with yourself and others, and a shift in your mindset that hustle is not the only way to create results. Yeah, think about that one. We are ingrained in this society to do that. So please hear me on this. There is nothing wrong with you. This burnout cycle in our American culture that perpetuates sacrifice, hustle, and overachieving at the expense, say that again, of our well-being is a badge of honor. Not in my world. This very topic is why I love Italy and how my trips, right there, change my ways of operating back here at home. I learned after not only my month-long stay in Florence and my subsequent 2 trips to Cortona, Lake Como, Rome, Amalfi Coast, over the last few years, right, I learned that Italians have their priorities straight, meaning how crucial enjoyment, connection, cooking, family, wine, travel, play, loyalty, and quality of life are all a priority over placing work first. Now, don't get me wrong, Italians have a great work ethic, but the culture oozes about enjoyment. How about your life? So, this is why I'm bringing everyone to Italy. So, during our 6 days and 5 nights in this beautiful, rustic, traditional Tuscan villa, right, hosted again by Patrizia and her chef, Francesco. Great sense of humor on this guy. Very lively, very bubbly. I aspire for you to give yourself permission to liberate yourself by owning your innate feminine arts to live a quality life. Again, those are intuition, spirituality, play, adventure, desire, pleasure, and sensuality. Imagine being able to create this as a new normal back at home after you leave the retreat. That's my intention. We'll be doing group transformational life coaching around creativity, right? Around your feminine arts, an Italian cooking lesson, in the kitchen of the villa with Chef Francesco. We're going to walk the countryside. We're going to do a bike tour. We're going to do a wine tasting tour, and there's plenty of quiet time. There's a special power behind international travel and life design coaching together, and it results in what I call a quickening due to being in a high vibrational space away from normal life. That's the power of destination retreats, right? Is getting you out of your normal environment, including your normal city or normal state, as in, right, geographic, And internationally, when you're experiencing a new culture, things start to change in you. And it's very powerful. So I invite you to leave your worries, responsibilities, routine life at home. Of course, after you arrange for those to be taken care of, and step onto an international flight with your passport to Rome, Italy, where you'll be happily greeted by our private driver to take you and 5 other eager women to Villa Vetricina in beautiful Tuscany, Italy. How about that? That's what I aspire for you. And that's my most joyful way of coaching life design. So to sum this up, ladies, embrace your feminine art of receiving and intuition. I want you to embrace your feminine. Look, I craved learning this back in, my gosh, 2017 from my mentor. I was so stuck for the longest time in masculine energy. It's how I was raised, right? To be driven and focused and take action and keep moving and keep striving and get the goals and move on. And then after you get it done, then you can play and have adventure and pleasure and fun. Oh, thanks to my coach and following her advice, I allowed my feminine to be the lead in work and personal. I catch myself when I'm feeling the hustle too much, and I pull back. And I allow and receive the good, the quiet, the pleasure, the manifesting of my desires, rather than be again in consistent doing mode. Look, it's changed my life and priorities. It's always a work in progress. How about you? So, as I asked, are you ready to embrace your next chapter? What's been pulling at you to change? What dream have you stopped pursuing because of life's demands? Get yourself scheduled for a vulnerable and empathetic conversation with me to explore your next chapter and the possibility of being coached in a private one-on-one VIP half day or full day to be done here in beautiful Malaga Cove, or maybe the 6-day Tuscany retreat in May 2024. The link to fill out my short inquiry form is in the show notes. Okay. So I thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope this topic stirred something inside of you to follow your joy even more, or begin following your joy. So use the links in the show notes. Also, I have 3 free downloads. And stop by on Instagram and say hello, right? I'd love to know how this episode landed with you. Reach out, let me know. All right? Follow your joy. Until next episode, take good care. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening in. You can find more entrepreneurial stories and resources at marladiane.com. And while you're there, enjoy my 3 free downloads to up-level your business and your life. How about you take a screenshot of this episode and tag me on Instagram by sharing your highlights of what you learned today? I'd love to connect there with you. Until next episode, take care.